Joining us now is Tiana Lowe, a commentary writer for the Washington Examiner. So Tiana, I've been following your writings on this subject, and I think you've addressed it from a very measured approach. It's not too hyper-partisan as a lot of times these issues are, because this is a very difficult subject to cover. And in a recent article, you said the media may actually be hurting Biden when it comes to the issue. Can you speak about that?
Well, we already know that sunlight is the best disinfectant. And right now, it is important that we remember a good standard of evidence to use in the court of public opinion is the preponderance of evidence. Is it more likely than not that this allegation is true? Right now, the evidence doesn't back that. The presumption of innocence is still important. If Biden is innocent, he should be allowed to exonerate himself. But the fact that the media is running away from this does make it look like he has something to hide. Now, we can expect partisans to act like partisans. We can expect the Biden campaign to be scared of the media coverage. These campaigns, they do become so insular that sometimes they wind up hurting themselves. But the media shouldn't be following suit. They are supposed to be objective. They are supposed to be the truth tellers running into the burning building like the firefighting media that they are. Right now, that just isn't happening.
I think that's very well said. And to your point, we can expect those on the right, for example, to criticize Joe Biden for this, the same way that those on the left criticize Brett Kavanaugh. A lot of those hypocrisies are now being highlighted. A lot of people will point to prominent figures like Alyssa Milano, for example, who famously sat behind Brett Kavanaugh and then was a little bit slow to come out with her support for Tara Reade, which she did do yesterday. I'll give her credit for that. But when it comes to this, you have also said that the Biden campaign seems to be shaping the coverage a little bit when it comes to this issue. We played the clip of CNN, for example, playing the statement from them, but your article takes it a little bit further as well. Can you speak about that?
Well, so we already know that Team Biden is reaching out to media outlets because Dean Baquet admitted it. When the New York Times waited 19 days to touch this allegation. Remember, when the Lucy Flores thing came out last year, when Biden was accused of touching people's shoulders or sniffing people's hair, the New York Times waited 6 days to do their own independent investigation of it. In this case, when we're actually talking about a potentially criminal assault, they waited 19 days. But even more alarming is that CNN waited almost a month. They waited almost a month, and they were the ones sitting on the Larry King Live clip that featured Tara Reade's mother allegedly calling into the show to discuss the allegation. Mind you, I don't fault CNN for not finding the individual clip, but they were the ones sitting on it, and it still has not been explained why that episode is inexplicably missing from their Google Play archive of Larry King Live. Just the behavior over the weekend, they're acting guilty when they very well could be guilty of nothing, no cover up, nothing. But instead, over the weekend, you've what? The head of CNN Global Comms liking tweets, making fun of people, acting like, yes, this is a big deal and we do need to get to the bottom of it. It's just really pedantic and sophomoric behavior.
And I want to touch on that New York Times thing that you said before as well, because when they first covered this latest allegation regarding Tara Reade, you may remember there was a tweet and also a paragraph in that article that said, we found no other corroborating type of evidence when it comes to this, other than some women who complained about unwanted touching, kissing, and things of that sort, which, I mean, that pretty much sounds like inappropriate touching to me, but the way that they framed it, a lot of people were saying that, oh, it's no big deal. So I think you're onto something when you point out these things, but I also want to touch on the Kavanaugh thing a little bit, because there is a clear differentiation between the way that a lot of these outlets handle the Brett Kavanaugh accusations, for example, compared to the Joe Biden ones. In my opinion, this is bad for journalism because it's so obvious. The bias is so blatant there. Do you agree with that?
I mean, we already knew that the Me Too movement was based on two things. One, as a culture, we have ignored sexual misconduct and sexual assault for far too long. The second thing was that women should have a right to bring forward their accusations publicly and that we should then investigate them. It was not about the idea of discarding the importance of evidence and evidentiary standards. The Kavanaugh farce was all about turning it into the allegation is evidence in and of itself. And that was obviously an untenable standard, because the second you lob it next to someone who has a D next to their name, Democrats are just going to throw out that standard. But the fact that no one could see how obviously beclowning themselves would backfire in the future, it's more pathetic than anything. And Brett Kavanaugh really should feel vindicated. There is still not a shred of evidence that he and Christine Blasey Ford ever even met. Again, that's not to say that she was lying. It's just there to say that there was no way of proving this allegation. You have the case of Biden. Right now, you have a witness on the record saying that within 2 or 3 years of the alleged assault, that Tara Reid specifically said that Biden was the assailant and that he forcibly sexually assaulted her. That is a lot more corroboration than was ever even considered in the Kavanaugh case. And the fact that those same people who are going positively apoplectic about Brett Kavanaugh are now silent should tell you everything about how much they actually care about victims of sexual assault.
And we even saw polling during the Kavanaugh thing showing that the American people agree with what you're saying right now. I mean, the American people are smarter than people give them credit for. They see through a lot of this type of politicization, and it becomes even more problematic when it's the politicization of sexual assault claims. I think that's where people really get turned off by this type of conversation. So I think they're going to see through about a lot of what you're talking about right now. But Tiana Lowe, all of our viewers, you can see some of her writings in the Washington Examiner. Keep up with all of her work. Tiana, I really appreciate you joining us tonight. Thank you.